And we're live. Welcome from the Man Cave. I'm the caller here tonight, celebrating another fantastic week in the life of a Spurs fan, or commiserating. Good point away in Scotland and all of that gubbins. I'm joined by a couple of special guests this evening. First of all the way from Vienna, HG. How are you, sir?
I'm good. I mean, it's Friday night. There's no reason to feel bad. I don't have to work tomorrow. I know that in a former life you sometimes did, but I'm well. I mean, it's bloody freezing, but I'm well.
It's pretty cold here. How cold is it there?
When I picked up my daughter from school, it was about -3, so I guess a couple of degrees worse than that now. But
dust is cold.
Yeah, it's warm enough from my apartment, so I'm happy.
Well, somewhere where it's not cold at the moment is the land down under, although everything there tries to kill you. Dave, hello, how are you? How are things down south? Really south?
Down south of the hemisphere. Yeah, it's all good. 30 degrees again today. Sorry about that. T-shirt and shorts on. And, it's a bit overcast. If you won the toss, you'd put me in the back, definitely. But it's all good. Thanks for having me back on again.
No, well, I'm looking forward to getting your views on Rangers, Spurs, and more, as I always do. But I'm also equally interested in the views of our viewers. So do drop us a line to let us know you're here, where you're watching from. And what you think of the situation at Spurs right now. We're going to start off with last night's debacle at Ibrox, a pulsating 1-1 draw. Dave, what were your thoughts on the game?
To be honest with you, I've almost forgotten about it because it was so just awful. It was so nondescript. It was like going to see Maroon 5 in concert. Right, I mean, it wasn't very good. No disrespect to Scotland or the Premier League, it's not a great division. I know that's where our managers come from, but if we can't go up there and get three points and just sort out qualification, then we've got a problem. But I think the whole thing speaks to the paucity of our squad and the fact that we've got some players who are running on fumes, and out of form, or both. And we'll probably get onto a certain German shortly.
We will, but HG, I want to know what you took away from that game. It was a hard-fought draw in the end. A very low-quality encounter, I would describe it as. But what were your thoughts?
I mean, the thing is, if you believe in such things as UEFA coefficient, that was the toughest away game of the group stage, right? Rangers were in pot 1 alongside us. The other pot 1 game was against Roma. We played them a few weeks ago and got a draw there. So, I understand the overriding feeling is Scottish football is not very good and we should beat these with our B team. But I'm actually not surprised. I feel like just given the fixtures we have coming up, it was I don't want to say it was not important, but I think we'd all rather beat Man United next week than win last night. If that was the choice given, and given the fact that we have, 16, 15 players that Ange seems to trust, and the rest are out of action for various reasons, we'll take the point and we're happy with it. And we can talk about performance and how we didn't go and beat them 3-4-0 like we wanted to. But at the end of the day, Sunday is more important and next Thursday is more important. And we've got 2 games in January against teams who are at the lower end of that, Europa League table. And if we get results in those games, if we win them both, then I think we'll be top 8 and everyone will consider it a job well done.
Fraser Forster, Dave, do we owe him a collective apology? There were cries of, oh no, it's a disaster when Vicario got injured after the 4-0 hammering of Manchester City, which seems like so long ago now. But he's been in inspired form, hasn't he? Certainly with his saves, he's kept us in games.
In the window that we completely backed Conte and bought those 6 players in and spent that 150 mil, ironically, getting him in on a free, he's one of the best signings of that window. That's the window of Richarlison, your mate Paul Longley, etc., etc. And the thing about Forster, and he's like, in no way is he the long-term solution, but I do think that things are a bit calmer with him in goal and not Vicario. And you kind of want your keeper to be more of a calming influence on your defence. But I'm old school.
Yeah. HG, can you give us some more insight into that? Dave being old school.
Into Dave being old school. No, I think Dave can do that well himself.
Thank you.
I just feel like, I want to toot my own horn a little bit. We know we don't do that very often.
Go on, here we go.
Like, I wrote a piece on my old man Facebook page where I said, when it was clear that Forster was going to play for a couple of months, that actually he hadn't done that badly this season when he played. Again, it was like Coventry game. Like, he made a couple of good saves in that game. And, don't get me wrong, he's not great with the ball at his feet, but he doesn't have to be great. Like, we don't need him to spray 70-yard passes looking for the run of Boris, because they don't exist anyway. But he does what you want your keeper to do. And so we can't really complain. And like, the idea of finding like two goalkeepers that are flawless, it just doesn't exist. Like, the only reason that Liverpool can kind of feel that they've got that is because one of them they managed to produce themselves, and he's not flawless because of the mistake that they made at Newcastle last week. So I get that, we want everyone to be the best they can be, and we want to improve the squad in every way. But as Dave said, Forster on a free, with the experience that he has, clearly he's well liked within the group. It will be a problem to try and replace him, because you won't really find anyone better who is willing to sit on the bench and take his 75 grand a week than what Forster's currently doing. So, yes, I think that he deserves a lot of credit. He obviously made a few really good saves recently that have saves that maybe Vicario wouldn't have made, and I don't think we can complain too much.
No, I don't think we can complain too much. He's done all right. But you mentioned spraying 70-yard passes. Well, he did spray a 70-yard pass. It was a beautiful pass to Timo Werner, who managed to, I don't know what he did. He kind of tripped over the ball and put it into touch.
Almost Sissoko-esque, really, wasn't it?
Almost. Which leads us to this comment: is Ange finally done with Werner? So, I generally don't agree with managers outing players in press conferences, but he went full bore into Werner, didn't he, after the game, and told us all that his performance is unacceptable. The level he was at was nowhere near. He's a German international, although I don't think he's been German international for a while, but nonetheless. Thoughts on that, HG? Because, and then I'll come to you with the same question, Dave, because
yeah, sure.
I just think that doesn't leave a good taste in the mouth. Almost makes me think Ange is somewhat desperate.
Yeah, look, how do I put this nicely? I feel like a lot of people are having an issue of what was said because he picked on one, and he could have said it about a number of players. And yeah, that's probably true. However, what he said, I don't feel was that bad. Like, we're talking about a 45-minute review, right? His performance against Rangers last night was unacceptable. He hasn't talked about the other games that he's played in. He's not gone into him completely and said, he is a terrible footballer. I can't believe we signed him. I signed him twice. Like, he's not done that. He said that for 45 minutes he wasn't good. Now, I can agree that people are maybe, well, he should have said that about Son, and he should have said that about Johnson, and he could have said it, quite frankly, about a number of people that started the game last night. However, I don't think that's really a stick to beat him with. He was asked about Werner. He gave a response about Werner. Had someone asked about Johnson, he may well have said the same. We will never know. But he's clearly, when you're asked a question like if I said to you, hey, tell me about your work colleague, and you just started slagging everyone off, that would be worse, right? And so, I understand it. None of us really rate Werner. We all think that we want better. We wish that other players were fit, because then he wouldn't be playing. But I think people are making too much of this. Werner will almost certainly get minutes on Sunday. He may well get minutes next Thursday. We don't have many players he's got to be part of it, and we have to hope that he improves.
Dave, same question really. Werner, is this Ange feeling the pressure and lashing out? Do you think that his comments are valid? Should he be doing that as a manager?
I mean, it's interesting because there's now like 2 players in the last 2 to 3 weeks that he singled out and talked about in not such a positive way. Jed Spence, firstly.
Despite 2 weeks ago, by the way, saying, I won't, it's a team game, I won't single out people for criticism.
But he said that this week about Romero. So when Romero spoke out about the ownership, because in no way is Romero angling from a move away from the club. And I won't hear any talk of that whatsoever. Thank you. So he said it this week. He goes, that's not how we do it, mate, and all the rest of it. And then he's spoken to Romero, mate. And then after that, and then literally within 24 to 48 hours, he singled out Werner for criticism. And I feel Werner's a bit of an easy whipping boy here. I mean, I think he's crap. I was very meh when we got him on loan initially. I was horrified when we signed him for another year on 165 grand a week, right? So I think he's a bit of a whipping boy. Even like Basuma's having a go at him. I mean, Basuma's been shit, right? So I think, he's a bit of a whipping boy. He's just not a very good footballer, and we should never have got him back. And I think he's showing the pressure by singling him out. Because the thing is, Son was as equally, if not worse, than Werner in that first half. Surely. Johnson, not very good, and others as well. And I mean, he made some bizarre decisions, taking off Bentancur and Basuma, knowing that they're not playing this weekend. But but on the other hand, he had to bring off 2 of our better players. Yeah, sorry about that, Jack. Sorry. But the fact of the matter is that Ange is feeling the pressure by calling them out. But he's an easy target. He should call out Sonny and go, he's not playing very well. He's never going to do that, is he?
No, of course he's not, because it's the captain. Like, if you
I know that.
this is it. Like, I feel like if you're going to,
if you want to blow up the dressing room,
that's what you do.
Oh, right? Yeah.
And that would be idiotic, and that would deserve much more criticism. But I just obviously he's picked certain. It's weird. Like, he picked his 3 captains, right? And Son and Romero basically play whenever they're fit.
Yeah.
But the third one doesn't.
Nope.
And so, I do feel as if Ange, I would be honest, I've only read the comments. I haven't heard him say it. I haven't, heard the kind of the intonation of what how he kind of produced it. But I just, Werner did not play well. That's okay to say he didn't play well. If he went through and said that about everyone, then the press conference would have been an hour long, because there were a number of players in that first half who didn't play well. But there are lots of mitigating circumstances as to why. And when it comes to controlling a football, I mean, that is basic stuff that Werner didn't really do. And I can sit here and say that I think that he's better than some of the other attackers that played last night. But those players, although they didn't try and take their men on, they also didn't lose the ball straight out of touch. So you pick your poison. Unfortunately, there's just a lot of poison going on right now, and Spurs have to get through it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Another player I wanted to pick out, Archie Gray, debuting at centre back. I mean, deputising us, I'd rather say it, at centre back. Jack of all trades, master of none, by the look of it, Dave. But he was okay, wasn't he? 18 years old and in a.
I do like how the questions are really quite leading tonight. You really wanted us to talk about Ange, getting the pressure's getting to him, and we didn't really go down that one. And now you're master of whatever it was.
I'll get a bite in a minute.
I hate to use these words, but he's trying to be Piers Morgan, isn't he? Sorry for swearing. I thought Archie. Yeah, I mean Archie Gray. I thought he did all right. I still think the fault was with Porro for not being with. He didn't do it. That was his man. He didn't pick him up. Didn't do anything. Great pass, right? I like to look at their right back actually. Tell me that he's probably a faded glory from the Premier League to Werner or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought he looks all right.
I think he's been there for quite a long time now. He's probably, almost approaching mid-30s, but he's their captain and he's been there since they were in the first division. Maybe he's like been promoted a couple of times with them.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah, I do think he's been there quite a while. But he had a decent career in like lower leagues of England before he went up to Scotland. But they love him.
Okay.
He really is kind of almost like the poster boy of the new Rangers because he stayed with them and has played quite well. And I don't know if he is related to the Middlesbrough Tavernier, but I think he might be.
What about the Tavernier family who are in EastEnders? Is he related to them?
I don't watch EastEnders, Dave.
This is from the 1990s. Tavernier.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, that's right.
I don't know.
Anyway, the fact, but he saw off the great force that is Timo Werner, who has won the Ballon d'Or 3 times. So, all props to him.
The question, Dave, was about Archie Gray.
Yeah, but I think, you have a go at Archie.
Gray's master and none, I think, was the...
No, I don't agree. I've got this revolutionary idea. And again, I haven't done my FIFA Pro license badges. Why not play him in a position we bought him for, which I believe is number 6, of which we don't have any at the club in the first team squad, really. So I thought he did all right. I mean, he's still quite confident to bring the ball out and stuff like that. And I think he's got a good technique on the ball. But, I feel sorry for him. How old is he? 18, 19?
Yeah, 18.
He's been chucked into every position. He's played across the back 4 now, I reckon. He's played right back, left back, centre back. He hasn't got in goal. And basically he hasn't played in the position that we really should, develop him for, which Brentford promised him. And probably no doubt we did as well. So you want to have a go at him? I stand by Archie Gray. And I stand by Dragusin. I thought he did all right. They both did a job.
Who wants to have a go at Archie Gray?
You did. You're leading into it. Leave him alone.
Got the wrong man. HG, I need to refill my glass. So, firstly, Archie Gray, and then elaborate on that into. So, I read an interesting piece. You should, if you're not already on the Harlow Globetrotters Facebook page, you should, because there's some good, insightful pieces on there. One of which I did stumble across today or yesterday around how many players were playing out of a position and how that compromises the team really and what we're trying to achieve. So HG, thoughts on Archie Gray, and then positional. Why we're playing everyone out of position would be good.
Okay, I mean, my thought on Archie Gray is this, right? I think it's difficult to say he's a midfielder because he's never really played senior football as a midfielder. So even though we all think that maybe down the future that's going to be his best position, he did a season at right back for Leeds. He's mostly played right back for us. And weirdly enough, right back for us, if he's inverting into midfield, is not a bad position for a guy that you think might be a midfielder later on. So that I actually don't mind him playing there. I think, weirdly enough, when he played left back, he did pretty well in that game. I forget who it was. One of the European away games, maybe in Hungary. He played left back that night and did all right. And at centre back, I remember him being turned right at the end when Forster made the save. You could have said that would have been on him, but he's also not a defender, and he's 18, and it's game 50 for him of senior football. I just think that there's a lot to be positive about Archie Gray, and whether he ends up being a better inverted fullback than Porro, there's a chance he might be. And I think Porro is a much better footballer because he's obviously more experienced and he's a Spanish international, all the rest of it. I think Porro is the kind of footballer you want if you want to be a successful team. He clearly cares. He doesn't take a game off. However, talking about being out of position, I don't think him being an inverted fullback suits his game whatsoever. And so if I was to sit here and say that team that started last night, right, well, Porro isn't an inverted fullback. Gray isn't a centre-back. Okay? I don't think Maddison is a deep-lying midfielder, which is where he spends most of the game. We bought a guy who's usually on the edge of the 18-yard box trying to create, and we've got him playing like Pirlo. It doesn't work. It's not his game, right? We've got wingers who, weirdly enough, were actually playing in their best position, but they're terrible. We had Son, who's never been a centre forward, playing a centre forward. So, yes, they're not massively out of position, but if I'm thinking Udogie and Porro and say, I look at them as footballers, they have been wing backs most of their career, and we are playing them in midfield. And I think that's a massive part as to why we're struggling. Like if Porro played as a defensive right back, he would be playing better. If he basically became Gary Neville, who defended for 90% of the game and somehow went forward to deliver a couple of crosses every now and again, we'd see a better version of Pedro Porro than we're seeing now. And there have been so many goals this season that have come at the back post. Either he's gone too far back and the man is behind him, or in this case, he just couldn't get back in time. And like, I want to blame Porro, but I don't, because he's not being put in a position where he can really get back to affect it defensively or get forward and provide creativity. So, yeah, like I do think that, and there are lots of reasons why, but that team that started last night, a lot of it was, square pegs, round holes, and of course they're going to struggle.
Can I ask you a question? Do you like this inverted fullback business as a playing style?
I don't mind it, but if you want to put people in midfield, they should be midfielders first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Like if you think about the original people that started to play fullbacks in midfield, probably you're thinking about Pep when he would have like Fabian Delph do it. He'd be left back kind of, but actually more in midfield. And we've seen Arsenal do it, and we've seen various City players kind of go into midfield from defence. But in a lot of cases, they were people who could play in midfield. They weren't defenders. You've seen, like even Liverpool have started to do it with Trent, right? But Trent was a midfielder coming through the system. We all know he's got the passing range to do it. Porro has never been that kind of player. I don't think Udogie. I think Udogie is more suited to it, if only for the fact he has the pace to get back. But a lot of times he doesn't get back, and we're lucky that someone like Davies or Van de Ven is actually comfortable to get out there and cover. So I don't mind the system, but I just don't think that we have players that really suit it. And like if we were going for results more than system, then we would change it, and we would have them either be wing backs, or we would have them just as traditional fullbacks, and understand that, okay, we want them to be attacking threats from deep, as opposed to, in effect, midfielders half the time. And they don't have the legs to get back and defend when we need them to.
So based on the limited evidence that we've seen of Spence, do you think he would be more suited to play as an inverted right back than Gray or Porro?
If I was thinking, no, I think he might. I mean, he has the pace to get back that Porro doesn't. So he might be better as inverted fullback, if only for that sense. Yeah. But to be honest, if we want our inverted fullbacks to get forward, which we seem to want to do that, I don't really think that's his game either. I mean, I know we saw him do it quite well at Coventry. Like the one time we've really seen him play, he came up with the goal by making a run from deep that we don't really see Udogie make into the area. We don't really see Porro do that, and Spence did. But I think if you were to look at Spence's characteristics, if he's going to play anywhere for Ange, it probably should be at centre-back, because he's got the pace to get back. And if you said to him, like, he's 6'4", he's super fast, and if Ange Ball is working well, it's like watching Van Dijk at Liverpool. Like Van Dijk doesn't really have to defend; he has to mop up most of the time. And I feel like that's what Spurs were really good at when we were really good. Like Vertonghen and Alderweireld were good defenders, great defenders, but when Spurs were really, really good, they were just mopping up. The ball would go over the top, they'd get there first, they'd pass it to Dembele and would be off again. And I just, like...
You're saying Spence could be more suited as a centre-back?
So for what Ange wants to do, yes. Like, if we change formation, then I think, a simple right-back or even a wing-back, if we were to do that, would suit him best. But given Ange Ball, just his characteristics... Yeah, have him be a centre-back. Like, if Emerson Royal could do it last season and not be horrific... Like, he wasn't terrible, because weirdly enough, you took him away from the things like attacking, which was never really his game. And you said to him, you get to defend the whole game. Spence has physical characteristics that Emerson doesn't. So to me, he would be a better option. Now, it's not a great option, but I think if he's going to play Ange Ball, that's where you'd want to see him.
I mean, the rate we're going, we might find out if Spence is any good at a centre-back.
Probably. I mean, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the 16.
Well, give it another week to 2 weeks, and you might see.
But I think there's been a lot of people saying that on Sunday night, and we'll probably get to Southampton now. Like on Sunday night, it's a time to be like, you know what? We've got players in our Premier League squad like Reguilon, like Spence, and let's just give Porro the night off. Let's give Udogie the night off, and give these players a game. And like maybe there's a lot of Spurs fans who think we'll win anyway, which I don't agree with. But I can understand the logic of saying, you know what? We do have these players. We can't play them in Europe because they're not in that squad, but we can play them in the Premier League. And there's this weird feeling that if they did well, it would make life worse for Ange. So I don't think we're going to see it. But I definitely feel that if you have a limited squad, which we clearly do right now, you've got to you can't play the same players every 3 days and expect things to go well. We have to give people a chance, let's say, and weirdly enough, like Reguilon plays really well, and we sell him in January, and we get a bit of money that we're not going to get right now. If Spence plays quite well, someone might take a punt because let's face it, he's not in Ange's plans. So it is almost in everyone's interest to be like, Sunday, it's Southampton away. It's in theory the easiest away game we've got because they're bottom of the league. They can't really win. Give Porro the night off, give Udogie the night off, and say prepare for Thursday because Thursday matters much more to Spurs. It really does.
We're almost approaching a situation where the leagues are right off and cup games are king, aren't we, Dave?
Yeah, just like the 80s, early 80s. Happy days. Well, I mean, you know, none of us think we're going to get fourth. None of us think we're going to get fifth. And probably, I mean, you know, there's Newcastle doing just as crap as we are. Yeah. Which I was.
I think we're only like 5 points off fourth at the moment. So 6 points, is it? So
that's the weekly mantra that I hear after another debacle. We're only 4 of one.
It's a fact, actually, Dave. But
I know it's a fact, but it's recycled. You know, I know that the club's got very good green credentials, and it's recycled a lot. But at the end of the day, we're awful away from home. Awful.
Yeah.
And we've won one in what? How many now? 7 or 8 in the league? I can't remember. Not many.
No.
So
I'm not disputing that, but if you could trust Spurs to build a run, they could do it. The problem is I don't trust Spurs to build a run at the moment at all.
I mean, let's say that our players, the injured players, are all back. Maybe Odebear is the one who's out long term, but they're all back in about 6 weeks, right? So the end of the window comes around. We've got all these new signings, right? And we there is part of me that says, okay, like if we have a full squad, and I mean, we're still going to be playing every 3 days. That's the crazy thing. That doesn't really stop. If Spurs make top 8 in Europa League, we get a couple of midweeks off. But that's pretty much it. If we end up, like if it's March, we're still going to be probably 5-6 points off top 5, which is what is probably going to be needed. So I don't really see it as a prioritizing case yet. Okay, like we're not like when West Ham did that and when they won the flipping Conference League, but they did clearly prioritize that competition over the league because Spurs will always want to fight for that. And I don't feel as if there's if it is top 5, like I can see Man City getting back on track, and so you've got the top 3. And Man City they're fourth now anyway, right? So the top 4 go on: Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and then it's going to be a mad dash. And Spurs will struggle because we may have extra games, and Newcastle won't, and Brighton won't, and whoever is up there, Forest maybe. But I'm certainly not ready to throw in the towel when it comes to the league when we're still not even halfway, right? Like we all know that when Conte took over, it was November when we got Champions League that season, and it sucks that we're going to have so many league games over the next 6 weeks, right? Like it feels like you spend 2-3 months. And you play maybe 9 or 10 games because there's all the different international breaks, and you can't. And then suddenly, when it goes every 3 days, and we're playing league game after league game after, I think December is 9 games, of which 6 are league games. It's a crazy time, but I'm not ready to say we are a cup team just yet. But I think it's okay to say that the Man United Cup game is more important than the Southampton League game because it is. It just is.
So 12th and League Cup winners it is.
Well, we did that in 2008 and people weren't really complaining, right?
No.
True, but expectations may have changed slightly since then.
Okay. So, like, there's a lot of talk about Spurs fans being entitled, right? I hear that a lot these days. That the reason that we're unhappy with Ange right now is because we expect to be, better than we are. Do you feel that Spurs fans are entitled?
I think there's an element of it. I think you've got a mixture really. You've got the younger fan base have only really ever seen us do good stuff in the Champions League. Finishing fourth, dizzy heights of that.
Imagine
Poch.
being like that.
The Poch era.
The Poch era brought a lot of people to the club, right? A lot of new supporters. The Son era, if you want to call it that. A lot of foreign viewers took Spurs as their team. And I think amongst that population, there is that expectation that we're up there challenging for the biggest honours. And, we built the stadium. So, it's the game-changing stadium, Dave. So it should be a case that we're up there year in, year out. Then I think you've got the sort of more battle-weary, seasoned veterans like David over there and like ourselves, to be fair, HG, that kind of remember when Spurs were complete dross, but won a couple of cups. And the expectations are a bit lower. So I think the answer is you've got a mixed bag of expectations. But what you tend to find is the population that saw us get second, nearly win the Premier League, get to the Champions League final, etc., that are more recent fans are more noisy on social media, certainly because they're more tech savvy and they're younger, right?
There's a lot of generalisations you find.
There is a lot, but I do think there is a general point behind it, and I do think that's where a lot of the noise certainly comes from. That and Dave's Twitter account, which is non-stop.
Yeah, but that's the time difference. You wake up, there's loads of tweets. That's why there's a time zone difference.
So
it does go silent for about 6 hours.
Do I think Spurs fans are entitled? Well, firstly, I would say I think they're entitled to be a little bit entitled, given what we pay to go and watch Spurs. Because you pay the top prices in the league, you want to see us win something.
Steady, you don't go there. Steady
at the top level. The flip side of it is, I do think there's a lot of an older demographic that remember when we were shit. So I think there's split expectations, but noisy ones.
It's weird that I don't expect Tottenham to win trophies. I don't expect Tottenham to even challenge really for trophies. It would be nice, but what I expect is that, when Poch was in charge and we all got mad that he didn't really take the cups so seriously, that annoyed me because I expect us to want to challenge for everything. Those are my expectations. I expect us to look like we are improving. I understand that with the injuries we have, that might be more difficult, but in many cases, I feel like it's the system that is the issue, not the quality of the player. And if we're not trying to change something to improve based on the situation that you have, then I get upset. Those are the things that annoy me. So I don't feel like I'm entitled. I don't expect Spurs to finish in Europe. I think it would be lovely. I know we had 17, 18 years where we did do it every year, but I don't have those expectations. I just have an expectation that we get better, or that we look like we are trying to change whatever the issue is. That's it. I can understand that, it's not easy to play well when you've got so many people out of position. You've got so many people that are playing that maybe shouldn't be. But if they're not playing well, you go back to the Werner thing. If Werner had done that consistently, then he doesn't play. That would be an expectation. And if he gets to come on and play a few minutes and he plays well and he gets back into the team, then that makes sense to me too. But there has to be a cause and effect for things, and it's not just, I'll throw these players out and they're all going to do the same thing, because we can all sit here and say Porro can't do this and Johnson can't do that and Udogie struggles with this and Son is half the player he was. Well, Son is half the player he was because we don't have Kane anymore, and we're asking Son to basically get the ball with his back to goal and somehow try and find someone. It didn't work under Conte really for a lot of it. So that is what annoys me, that we've got the players that we have, and we're not trying to really get the best out of them. We are just saying, off you go again. That's what annoys me. But I don't think it's entitled. I don't think I'm entitled for wanting that. It's a very low entitlement if you're just saying, I want us to be better than we were last week. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, in terms of kind of sense of entitlement, if I go back a generation, my late father and my uncle saw us win the double, and then the cup the next year, and then the Cup Winners' Cup the year after that, and the FA Cup in '67, and in 1977 saw them get relegated. Okay, right, and there's some League Cups, and I think there was another UEFA Cup in that period of time. So, like 60, 61 to 77, that's a massive drop, right? And I saw us go to Wembley 7 times in 1981 and 1982 as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old. Very spoiled, right? And so what my so on the Poch thing, I know we're going to agree to disagree on this, HG, but he did take us to 3. We were in 3 domestic semi-finals with him and 1 League Cup final. So although he may have not said he took it seriously, and I know that you're going to throw in the paucity of opposition to get there. See, I know you so well. I know your arguments right now, but we get to the semi. That's true. Yeah, I know. All right. But he got us to 3 semis and 1 final. They couldn't get us across the line, and that was his problem, right? Now, in terms of entitlement and expectation, my entitlement and my expectation is obviously decent football on the pitch. We have a go. And by having a go is we splashed some money at established, good to go stars. I'm not talking paying someone 400 grand a week or anything like that, but we have a go. And when the opportunity presents itself, we do have a go, right? And the expectation that I have is that in order to have decent football on the pitch and having a go, that the correct appointments are made at various levels of the club by you know who and you know who, and that's not happened. And I'm not having a lot of faith at the moment in Langer and Munn on the evidence so far, to be honest with you, just on this year and a half. And again, it comes back to appointing the right people and not waking up one morning and deciding that we're going to do a cheaper version of the global Man City model, which seems to be the latest idea. Yeah. So my expectation is that have a go. Players who try, players who are not angling for a move the minute they get into the club, like a certain Argentinian, frankly. We know that it's going to be a stepping stone. They're really, really good players, unless that we all grow together. If the Modrics and Bale grew with us, we invested, we won trophies. I wanted to stay because at that time it was good for their career, but they disappeared off out the exit as soon as possible.
Like Dave, I think we are. If we had successful seasons and won trophies, I think we're 5-6 years of being that club before footballers would look at Spurs and say, okay, they're a club that I'm going to spend a lot of my career with. Right? Like Spurs are a stepping club. And I don't...
We are.
And we have to almost embrace that a little bit. Like understand that, like if Romero gets an offer from Real Madrid, of course he's going to go. Maybe if he gets an offer from Inter Milan, he may want to go back to Italy. Maybe he doesn't see Tottenham as being his final club. Like it's not like Solanke, where I think Solanke probably does think, hey, this is about as good as it gets. So I'm going to stay.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But for those youngsters, the ones that we would need to build a team around, most of them are going to probably think that Spurs are a stepping stone club. And sadly, we have a chairman who doesn't want to realize that, doesn't want to believe that. Like we've all seen in All or Nothing, that conversation he had with Eriksen, where he clearly seems to believe that he will be able to change Eriksen's mind. Whereas anyone who'd followed Eriksen's career would know he wanted something different. Like he'd been at Spurs for what, 6-7 years by that point. He wanted something different. And that's okay, right? Like, and maybe he was going to get paid a little bit less in Italy, and maybe all of those things ended up being like weird for Levy to understand. But that's it. Spurs are a rich stepping stone. We're probably the richest stepping stone club in the world because we are no one's final destination, and that hurt a little bit when you're paying the money that people pay, and like I don't do that, right? So I can't. But you almost have to embrace what you are seen as. And if Spurs did win trophies, and we were able, like, you know, again, we kept Kane for longer than we probably should have been able to, but we got him to sign a deal that was way too long, but at a time where we had been a Champions League team for what, 3 seasons in a row? Like, we hadn't made the final yet when he signed that deal. But clearly we were going places, and it felt like, if Pochettino's in charge, and that we were going to stay where we were.
Yeah.
And we've proven in the last 5 years that we could easily go back to who we were, right? And so it's frustrating, because we want to sign good players, and we want to, but we are sadly where Arsenal were 5 years ago when Arteta took over, and they couldn't really go and get the best players they wanted. So they went to get young players who they thought would grow, right? And they were right in many of those signings. And they got to the point that when it came to signing a new contract, they were good enough and were willing to spend the money to keep those players where they are, right? And maybe, it's weird that had Man City been interested in Odegaard at that time, or been interested in Saliba at that time, they would have said, okay, I'll make the switch. But De Bruyne was still playing regularly, and City don't really need centre-backs of that quality. So Arsenal were a bit fortunate that those players were willing to take, to sign a new deal. But as I said, that's what we got from Kane. That's what we got from Dele. All those players that were a massive part of who we were and the rise that we had were willing to stay, and we blew it up. And we blew it up because the person who makes the decisions doesn't have a clue about football.
Yep, I think that is fair to say. But what we have done in the last 12 months, in the last window, is lower the age dramatically of the squad, the average
Has
age.
it been dramatically
Well,
reduced,
it must
the
have been,
age?
because we got rid of mid-20s, late-20s people and brought in 18-year-olds. And I'm about to lower the average age of this podcast. James joins us as well. Here he is. See where I was going with that, Dave, before you interjected. Don't ever interrupt the caller. He knows where you live. So James, your take as a I don't, you're not a millennial, Gen Z or something like that. I don't know, Gen Y, no idea.
Boomer.
Boom. No, he's not boomer. You're a boomer.
Don't include me in Gen Z.
James, do you have unrealistic expectations of Spurs?
No, my generation's depressed and hate themselves.
That's got nothing to do with Spurs. That's just
that's just living in England. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I spent 2 seasons following Pompey. One of those seasons, they were the best team in League One. So, I got used to winning at stuff. I mean, my first memories of Tottenham were Pochettino for the most part. Aside from when John took me to watch, I think, Spurs Leeds in the League Cup, and then Spurs Blackburn. And I think we beat Blackburn 4-2. And I couldn't see the pitch properly because of the old stand at White Hart Lane. We were sat really high up. Those are my earliest memories of Spurs. I think Robbie Keane was still playing for us then. I'm talking, I was really young.
Yeah, we were all in our 30s at that point, James.
I mean, realistically,
speak for yourself.
I would just like us to win something. I don't care if we finish 15th and win the League Cup. I just don't care. I have no expectations of this football club anymore. I have no expectations.
Wow,
we got
you young, didn't we?
What I've learned in life is set no expectations, don't care, and if something good happens, be happy. Because, last season I had expectations. This season we started losing. I mean, if we go 1-0 down, I'd turn it off. And if we score, I'd put it back on again. Because I'm like, well, look, I can.
But how do you know, though? Because you've turned it off.
Oh, I checked the score. But I mean, realistically,
the tree falls in the forest, and no one's there to hear it. Dave, does it make a sound? These are the questions.
Will there ever be a boy born? Anyway,
yeah.
Look, I think it's fair to say that I think there's varying expectations between supporters. My opinion still stands. I do think there is an allowed minority that have higher expectations than a lot of people. I just go Spurs because I love going to Spurs to be around the people that support Spurs and have a good chat with Jason, who sits next to me, and it's a shared experience.
Well, why don't you meet him down the park with some bread and feed the ducks?
Because he lives a long way away. It's not near enough. But it's good to do that, and I think people get too hung up on we've got to win everything all the time, rather than actually supporting the club and watching it develop and grow, which hopefully it will. It did get very philosophical. Spurs fan John, how are you? So let's move on and talk about Southampton. Yeah, I know. Well, I need to go fill my glass up again. It's a good night tonight. I'm low on gin. Got some lovely garnish in there, a bit of orange. HG Southampton. I mean, we were going to have a Southampton fan on but unfortunately he's puking up apparently, or on the toilet doing his business. So couldn't join
Tottenham.
us.
He doesn't have to worry that much. Dr. Tottenham. He needs to see Dr. Tottenham.
Lasagna Gate, HG. Lasagna Gate. So HG, and then pass it round. What are your expectations, as we're talking expectations of the team against Southampton? What will Ange put out, and what can we expect from them?
Well, the team that Ange will put out will be probably very close to the team that finished against Rangers. I mean, that's what I would hope, for lots of reasons. As John says, Southampton play with the back five. We're not good at that, but I don't again. Southampton play with the back five, but they also want to try and score. They want to play this open game, and they're bottom of the table because their manager also doesn't want to adapt and doesn't want to try and nick a point here or there. He wants to try and win games. So, what do I expect? I mean, I expect to see a similar starting 11. I don't want that, but I think that, if you think about the one game where we played really well and we beat Man City by 4, I still can't believe it happened because I didn't watch it. It's almost did this really? I woke up and checked the score and was like, what? But that side didn't have a pacey winger in it, right? Son played, but he's not really that winger anymore, right?
No.
But basically, it was almost like we had a midfield 4, right? And it was Bissouma, I think. Yeah, Bissouma because he got booked. So Bissouma, Sarr, Maddison, and Kulusevski.
Yeah.
And those were the 4 kind of in midfield. And then Solanke and Son had more of a free rein to kind of do stuff. And it worked. And it worked because we took our chances, but we created a couple of decent ones. And Maddison, who, again, isn't one of the first names on the team sheet, came up with the first 2 goals. So I would like to see something along those lines again. I don't want to see Werner. I don't want to see Johnson. I feel like if they're going to have any use to us, it is off the bench. It feels like the last time Johnson scored was that Man City game. I don't know if that's true, but it feels that way, right? Where he came off the bench. So that's what I would like, but I think that it will be one of those 2 will start, probably Johnson. Because he's right-sided, and that's the area where we don't really have massive competition. But I just think that if Kulusevski's there and Maddison plays in midfield, obviously Bissouma can't play, so you might see Sarr play the 6 because we need Gray at the back, right? But that maybe gives an opportunity to Bergvall, who I think is starting to look more and more like the player that we thought we were going to see in September. Yeah. So it's. What do I expect? I don't know. I expect us to play similarly, but maybe with a different set of players. And we might win 3-0, we might lose 2-1. No one really knows, but that's kind of what I expect. That was a rambling nonsense. Boys, tell me something different, please.
I personally, I would like to see Bergvall and Maddison start both as 8s with, Bissouma, Sarr, much of a sameness.
Bissouma's suspended.
Yeah, he can't.
So Sarr's the 6th, right? I would just like to see Bergvall and Maddison play together and Kulu on the right, because I can see a great deal of creativity coming from that midfield pairing. Bergvall, you're completely right. He's starting to look more like the player we signed. He's a youngster. He's younger than me, and I'm young. right? So, like, I'll be surprised if it maybe took him a few months to adapt to a different country, a different football club, a different level of football. I mean, I know the Swedes all speak great English, but, like, it was going to take him a bit of time, and he's adapted.
They've got IKEA in England, haven't they? He should be fine.
I mean,
for breakfast.
In regards to whatever result, I mean, I hope we absolutely batter them 50-0 because
Why is that? Why I want to hear this. Why is this? Come on, give us some.
Has anyone swore on the podcast?
Dave has. Dave said the S word. So
because I just fucking hate scummers, mate. That's why. But the reality of the situation is, I mean, Bergvall, Maddison, Sarr, Kula on the right. The difficult decision for me is Son has been pretty dreadful lately, and that's an effect of age, not on effort. He's been given his best.
When you get to a third age, as far as you're concerned, write them off. That's worrying.
Why do you think John's already in a nursing home? I mean, but like he's not been great lately, has he?
Solanke, John or Sonny?
Well, a bit of both, I guess. But I mean, I don't know if it's a case of he needs a rest, he doesn't fit the system, or if he's just generally declining. Whatever it is, he's still better than Timo Werner, who is a football player, apparently. I've not seen any evidence for that, but apparently he is. I also think Porro probably needs a rest. He looks knackered. Give Jed Spence a game. I don't know what he does in training. I don't know if he spends training like abusing people, but Porro needs a rest desperately. Give him a start. Son, Solanke, Kula on the right, Maddison, Bergvall, Sarr. Then whatever defenders are fit, more so than anything. Give Spence a go. He genuinely just give him a go. Force great, so he's in goal. But yeah,
I think it's interesting that we talked about this a bit earlier. But if we're going to give if we are going to say right, Reguilon, Spence, you're going to get 90 minutes just so the others can have a rest, right? Then to me, it would make more sense to have Spence at centre back and Gray at inverted fullback. That to me would make more sense, right? That's just because I look at Southampton's team. They don't have anyone that makes you think, okay, how some promoted teams have a superstar that can kind of win them points. I don't look at Southampton and see that. They seem to be a functional.
I think Letizier's retired now.
Yeah, quite. But do you know what I mean? Who else? I can't remember who else came up now. But it feels like most teams that come up, they do have a little bit of something that makes them stand out. And with Southampton,
and Leicester's got Harry. Leicester's got Harry Winks. Don't forget.
But Ipswich's best player is the guy they got from Man City, right? Is Delap. Delap looks like someone who will win them points, right?
Yes.
By himself. Southampton don't really have that. Leicester have a bit more Premier League experience, but that's what we probably need to be doing. We can say, right, okay, our front six to me almost picks itself because we've got suspension and injuries and whatever. But at the back, give Udogie the night off. Let Reguilon play. I don't think Reguilon is a bad footballer, right? He went to Man United on loan and was one of their better players, but he played well for them when he was fit, right? That's kind of the issue. So if he's around and we're paying him wages, we took him to flipping Hungary for the Europa League. There was no reason for him to go there, but we actually made him go on the plane. He's been on the bench for certain Premier League games. This really just makes a lot of sense to me that you do that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really understand the hate for Reguilon. David, that's formal. DaveO. What can we expect from Southampton? Cameron Archer up top.
Well, I mean, we don't have the Southampton fan on here, so I asked a few Southampton mates for some insight about them. About Southampton, someone's "we're shit hot, very saintsy" was the response that I got. Very handy. What can we expect from Southampton? Well, Russell Martins, he's he hasn't compromised on his values, so I think we're going to get a high-scoring game. Can I just give my team very quickly? I want to be radical. Can I be radical? Do you mind?
Obviously, don't mind you being radical as long as you don't start ranting about Levy again.
I'm not talking about it. Austin in goal. No. Forster in goal. Forster in goal. Right back Spence. Dorrington, Dragushin, and Gray. No, we'll put Reggie on left back. 6, Gray, Sarr, Maddison, Kulu, Solanke, Son.
Okay. Like it's weird. Like I don't feel like Sarr is a great 8. I've said that for a while because I don't think he offers enough going forward. Like Sarr is basically Jordan Henderson for Spurs, right? He'll run around the pitch, he'll keep it simple, but he's not really going to spit. Like he scored against Man City in the cup game, which was a great finish. But
He breaks up the play well. He does break up. I think he breaks up the other team's play well.
I agree with that.
But do we really, like, I don't know, like, is it a massive need for what Spurs want to be? I don't know. Like, I think as a 6 he can do that.
But do you think he's got the passing ability to be a number 6?
No.
But I don't think we really need our 6s to be great passers.
It'd be nice if they were, though.
Oh, we do. We definitely do.
But so what?
If we're going to play out from the back.
But where is the 6 going to pass it to? To Sarr? I mean, that's the thing. Like, if Sarr is the 8, like, he's not going to beat a man. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a safe pair of hands. He's got decent control, but you're basically passing it to someone who's then going to pass it back to the centre back. Right?
If you want to progress the ball, you do it one or two ways. In the way we play, your 6 either needs to be good dribbling wise. Moussa Dembele type, in other words, he walks through players, or it's through his ability to pass. Sarr's passing ability, Sarr is basically a poor man's Kante? Yeah, basically. Right? He's nowhere near as good. He's still a quality football player, but I just don't think in the current system he really fits. We'd be much better off with a Jorginho type player in the 6. The only issue is Ange also wants a guy who's as good at passing as Jorginho to be as good as Sergio Busquets at defending. So that's kind of the worry. I don't think a 6 exists who does that.
I think the thing with Sarr, I thought that when he made his debut AC Milan away, I actually thought he got the ball down and he put a few good passes around and he looked quite controlled on the ball. There's my impression in that game. But since then, his pace is one of his strengths, breaking up the play. No, I think he's had this season. I think he's had quite a few good games. I thought he played very well against City away. I thought it was excellent. He's had some good games, but I just think as you said, in the attacking third, the final ball lets him down. But the same can be said sometimes for Kulu, Maddison, and your mate Boris, right? So Sarr's going to play.
Sometimes Boris might get it right, I think is what you're wanting to say.
Yeah, something like that.
That is referring to Brennan Johnson, not Boris.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, Sarr's got to play because there's no one else, and he's in. And so that's what I would do. Just make it a little bit more different.
Okay. I mean, I feel like we all want to see something. Like we've all seen Bergvall come on and play well, right? And so like the chance to give him another 30 minutes would be a good thing. At least 30 minutes. So like it's weird. Like I do feel like we do have options, but I don't trust Ange to really want to see something different. I think that Porro and Udogie will play because in his eyes, they're the only ones that can, right? He's not going to pick Spence. He's not going to pick Reguilon, right? And I understand why. Like if he sees them as players 24 and 25, then you wouldn't want to. I just feel that, especially like this week, I've said it so many times, this week, Thursday's game is more important. And we have to try that. Everyone's playing on fumes. We have to try and give those players who are very important. Like when Spurs play well, like the fullbacks are involved. But I don't know, like Southampton away, as much as we need the 3 points, I do think that Thursday is more important. And the better teams, the ones that have European football on their plate, they are able to do this. They will play randoms in certain games because they think maybe the other 9 will be good enough to win them the game, right?
Yeah.
So Spurs have to try and embrace that model. If we want to be that club, and we've got players, we just don't use them all.
Oh, and they're not bad players. That's the thing. They're not bad players, and I think that frustrates me more than anything because I think Spence does deserve. I mean, he changed the game against Coventry. He played really well, and yes, it's Coventry, but you can only go on what minutes he's had on the pitch. No one else was doing that.
No.
Reguilon, why he's been written off quite so readily, I don't know, because I don't think he's done that much wrong. If I'm honest, John says he's too lightweight. I disagree. I think he's got good technique on the ball and plays the game very well, and can put actual crossing, which is nice as well.
The thing is, like, if we play headless chicken football, which in many cases we do, right? It's like watching a basketball game at times.
Yeah.
Well, Reguilon kind of is that kind of player. Like, he will run, and he will make bad decisions, and he will get some things right. But it's just like right now, it's a body. We need those bodies to contribute, and for whatever reason, I feel like every manager does this. At least every Spurs manager always has like one or two that are like never. Like Ange did that last year with Bryan Hill. He was never going to play him. It was only when he had no choice that he played him. He signed Werner on loan to ensure that he would never have to pick Bryan Hill. Right? That's how much he rated him.
Oh, that is cold.
But it's true. It's true. It's absolutely the reason why.
Yeah, I know.
Werner,
But I mean,
he thought it was
that shows how
full Kurt Angle there.
That shows how crap Bryan Hill is.
Yeah. But this is the Bryan Hill that is playing, Champions League football and got back in the Spanish squad, I think, right? So I do think there's a player there too. It's just about like if you're playing professional football for Spurs, you are a good footballer. You may not be as good as I want, but you are a good footballer, right? Like as much as I can.
Ryan Sessegnon played for us.
Yeah, no, but as much as I will sit here and say that I think Brennan Johnson is probably one of the worst footballers I've ever seen play for Spurs, he's also our top scorer, right? So there is something there. Even if most of them were tap-ins, there is something there. You don't get to Spurs if you have nothing. So I don't understand the reluctance to play players who are fit and who could do 90 minutes and who could do that job. Like Spence came on against Coventry. I don't think he started the Coventry game, right?
No,
he came on because Ange was kind of like, all right, then I guess I'll give you a go. Yeah. Right? That's the only reason he got those minutes, but he came on and changed things. I don't understand the reluctance to leave things just to let people rot. It makes no sense to me.
I agree with you. I mean, I disagree with your saying of Brennan Johnson, who will be at the World Cup in 2026, whereas Austria probably won't be. And if they are, Brennan Johnson will score against your tiny nation anyway, mate, because Wales.
Yeah, he does tend to score against bad sides. You are right. Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, we'll batter. I mean, we got a very easy draw. I mean, Belgium aren't even a real country, and then it's like Kazakhstan, LA. But
what?
Like ultimately, right? What's he doing in training? What is Chad Spence doing in training that leads to him not being picked? He came on against Coventry. Okay, it's Coventry, but I mean, they're a bigger team than Southampton are anyway. And he completely changed the game. He showed desire. He ran well. He showed a lot of strength. He created opportunities. He did everything you want. And ultimately, you watch that game, he gave everything. He tried he really tried. Mm-hmm. I don't know what training to not be picked. I don't know if he's like Eden Hazard and just like doesn't show up to training or something. But he's obviously on the pitch. He gives everything. And he tries really hard. I genuinely don't know what he does in training. I don't know if he's sleeping with Ange's wife or something. I genuinely don't know.
In training?
Can I just say, I am pretty certain he is not doing that. Okay, like I would say that on everyone. I don't think he's doing that.
In training or out of training.
But do you get my point? I genuinely don't know why Ange doesn't give him a go. Because he looked pretty good to me when he came on in the cup. Looks better than Porro has at times this season. So
one of the key highlights from this show is the fact that we're all giving Reguilon and Jed Spence a lot of love tonight or this morning.
Well, we're saying that Udogie and Porro are both knackered because they've played a lot of football.
Yes,
and for some reason doesn't want to give the second choice right back in Jed Spence a go in a game against a team who are pretty shit. Mm-hmm. I mean,
Yeah.
Why not? Like, just give them a go. If they're bad, they're bad.
What-
But at least give them a go.
Rest Solanke for Thursday and put Lancashire up front as well. Why not?
I mean, if Mikey Moore wasn't ill, I'd suggest playing him at left wing because Son's been dreadful and Timo Werner's a model, not a football player. But
Yeah.
Okay.
But the thing is, we do have options. Like this idea that we don't have available players is not true. Right?
Perpetuated by the manager, by the way.
Yeah, no, but he's the one that has decided that we have. We named a full list of subs last night, right? But we all knew the 4 that were going to come on, and the rest of the teenagers who aren't going to.
And the rest of them genuinely look like children on that bench. I saw that bench, and I thought, am I getting old, or is that bench getting younger?
I find it quite.
It's like policemen.
I find it baffling, by the way. I remember years ago, Pep got asked about this because he only took like 6 substitutes to an away game.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, the under-21 team, they have a game. I'm not going to ask players to come with me to not play. Why are we bringing like under-21 team members to come to an away game that we know they're not going to play?
And honestly,
I get bringing a goalkeeper, but just say, look, you're not going to play this game. Why you cut? Like, why drag them up to Scotland? You know, like, what's the point? I don't understand. Genuinely, I don't understand. It seems
travel broadens the mind, James.
I mean,
while you're there, you know,
they had a project on Hadrian's Wall.
Unless they get really into Iron Brew, or Buck Fast, I don't understand what they'll have learned. But say la vie.
So yeah.
So there we go. We're going to win. We're going to lose. Southampton have already won this season, so we got rid of that hoodoo of giving someone else their first win of the season. Who did they beat?
Everton.
That's not good for Everton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that comment from Junkbot is the truth, right? Like, I don't think they will make things any worse, right? But like again, it's all about Thursday. If it makes Thursday go better, it would be worth it. And like.
Why are they fringe players anyway? Because the manager decided they're fringe players. I'm very supportive of Ange. I'm seemingly one of the only people who's supportive of Ange. But like, what I've watched on the football pitch is Jed Spence, decent footy player. I don't care that he's a fringe player. I mean, again, I don't know what he does, but on the pitch, seems like a decent player. Give him a go. Porro is knackered, and Porro can't bloody defend. He's not a full back; he's a wing back. He can't defend. I mean, if Ange says, "All right, lads, I'm playing this next game," give it a go. May as well. I mean, we're pretty dreadful right now, so this is the time to experiment a little bit in a game against a pretty terrible side in the league.
Yeah,
3 points either way doesn't make a massive difference. All focus is on the game against those Manx.
I mean, this is like Angie's always going on about giving people opportunities, right? Maybe if Jed Spence was Australian, he'd get a chance, right? But it is nonsensical to me. Like, we have a huge amount of injuries. We've got a couple of important suspensions. Like, Bentancurs basically can't play domestic football for a month, right? And it's crazy that we are not doing more with what we have, right? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? But to not give them the opportunity, it doesn't make any sense to me. And Reguilón's been on the bench a few times, but he's been on the bench in the same way that Hardy has been on the bench and Williams Barnett has been on the bench. They're not going to come on. But I just
Barnett, that's a great name.
Williams Barnett, yeah. So it's just, I don't know. Like if they were 19 and never played senior football, I could understand it. But like, Jed Spence is certainly championship quality, probably lower league, Premier League quality, right? Reguilón won the flipping UEFA Cup with Seville, although granted, if you play for Seville, you win that regardless. So they're not bad players. They're not. We've told ourselves that they're not good enough, but I don't think that's true. Like, Spurs right now are a mid-table team, right? With resources that aren't mid-table. We're a mid-table team. And we're not doing what we can, and that's what frustrates me.
I mean, like, okay, I always view this through the lens if I was playing Football Manager and I was in charge of the team right now. Bit bizarre, I know, but bear with me. I have a right back who's barely played any football, and my main right back is knackered. I would give him a go. Because in my head, I'm thinking, they're terrible. We can probably win this game. If we lose, like, whatever. I mean, no one's opinion on me is going to be changed if we lose. Most people who don't like me, don't like me. If we win, no one who's Ange out is going to go, well, we battered Southampton 4-0. He's in, mate. You know, you rest your players for the game against Man U. Give him a go. Even if he's been bad-mouthing me, I genuinely don't understand why Jed Spencer's in game. If he doesn't start, if Bergvall doesn't start, I will be genuinely perplexed.
Right.
Like it's weird. Like I don't think Bergvall will start. Like I mean, like that I would like to see it.
Well, he was supposed to start last night, wasn't he?
Yeah, but again, like last night was the least important of the three, right? Like as much as beating Rangers was amazing, like it's game 6 out of 8. We're still top 10, I think, in the table. Like those last 2 games, it wasn't all on Thursday night. Sunday again, like we've got another 20 odd games in the Premier League. It's not the end of the world if we lose to Southampton. It would suck, clearly. But Thursday, like I mean, like the Carabao Cup still has a bunch of good teams in it. It's not as if like get past Man United and it's ours. Right, like there's a good chance we'll probably get Arsenal in the semi-final, and it's 2 more games in January, and all of those things. But it shows that Spurs are saying right now we have learned how to prioritize games, right? And I think all Spurs fans genuinely think that next Thursday is more important than Sunday. They do, right? We want to.
Yeah, I agree.
And so for the manager to do something along those lines, we'd all like to see it.
James Perry, hello JP. Every time Jed plays, I'm impressed. I don't understand why no manager plays him, despite looking like the answer every time he gets on. JP, well, you backed the kangaroo loving, and so you're as guilty as the next person.
Notice that he writes "why no manager" and doesn't mention Ange by name.
I know. In fairness, he did call it out earlier on. So JP, the man who discovered in the first place.
The thing is, like, I look at that. I don't understand the Reguilon decision. We have 1 left back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And if he doesn't play, well, Davies could go there, but Davies has played centre back pretty much exclusively this season.
He's bollocksed as well.
Yeah. So it's like weirdly enough, like when Reguilon was the only one who couldn't get a move in the summer, there was part of you that thought, well, if there was one person that it was decent to have around just in case, it was him. And to me, we have hit just in case. Like with all the injuries we have hit that moment where you're playing every 3 days. We've got games galore. This is it. Like flogging Udogie. Like, does Udogie have to get a hamstring injury for that to happen? I hope not. Yes. But probably that's where we are. Yes. And and maybe January 1st we'll find some left back who's not doing anything, who was never good initially, but we thought, okay, he's played international football at some point in his career. Then maybe they'll come in, or we'll get some, right-footed left back to go and do it, and it will just be awful again. But right now, like it is all about what we have, the situation we have right now, and so to me, we have nothing to lose by playing Reguilon. Absolutely nothing.
I mean, I never thought he was that terrible for Spurs. I mean, I thought he was like mediocre, right, to an extent, but I never thought he was so bad he's cast to like the shadow.
No, it's just that Conte didn't fancy him as a left wing back.
Well, I mean, Conte was basically like my ex-girlfriend, fucking mental. So, I mean, okay. I don't know why we're still paying any attention to what that crazed Italian thinks. But, yeah. So
well, I mean, I don't know. Did your ex-girlfriend get Tottenham in the Champions League? Conte did. So,
Fair point.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to know what the equivalent of this would be, by the way. I have no interest in knowing what the equivalent of getting James into the Champions. Anyway,
it was more exaggeration for the exercise of making a point, in the sense that Conte was a complete lunatic who can only manage in Italy. Well, anyway,
he won the Premier League. But anyway,
I mean, infinite money glitch, mate. Don't care. Don't care if you do it with Roman Abramovich. I don't care. I could win the Premier League with infinite money. I don't care.
Avram Grant
decent footy player.
Big
Don't know
Phil
why.
didn't.
Well, I mean, I'm a better man than Avram Grant, aren't I?
There we go.
Decent football player. Don't always
Pick that up. James is a better man than Avram Grant.
I'm going to put him on mute in a minute. I'll tell you. There's 105 people watching on X tonight. Really pleased you joined us, first of all. If you wouldn't mind awfully going over to YouTube and giving us a like and making sure you subscribe, that'd be fantastic. 102 of you watching on the YouTube channel right now. Please do smash the like button and make sure you subscribe as well. I'm going to finish with predictions. Let us know your predictions in the chat, whatever channel you're watching on. Do let us know what you think the score against Southampton's going to be. And let's go around the room. HG, will kick off with you. Tottenham, Southampton. Give me a score prediction.
3-1 Spurs.
I like it. Goal scorers? No.
3 own goals by Southampton. I suspect Johnson will score because he does that just to annoy me. But yeah, I don't really care. I like 3-1 Spurs. However they go in doesn't matter right now. We need a win. I still believe that we are good enough and that Southampton will help us play well. So yeah, 3-1. Yeah,
I hope you're right. Dave, I'm coming to you, but I've got a stat from John being fed into my earpiece whilst we're on the air.
Do you want to say the stat, or do you want me to? Oh yeah, I'm going
to tell you the stat before you make your prediction. In 2024, Tottenham have played 33 games and lost 14 of them. Mm-hmm. Everton have played 32 games and lost 12. What's the score prediction for the weekend?
My prediction doesn't change. We're going to win 4-2. Reguilon's going to get a brace. Spencer's going to get a goal. And then Brennan will score when the cross comes in from the left and he's 5 yards out, just to really annoy HG.
Hey, I'll take the tap-ins. I will never change my opinion on him, but if he gets a tap-in, brilliant. That will help us. Yeah, it's interesting. The last time we played at Southampton was Conte's last game, right? I think so.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So are we going to see another manager meltdown?
No, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. The thing about HG and Brennan, he's now got me thinking like halfway around the world at various times of watching games at various hours. I see Johnson do something. The first person I just think of is HG. I find that quite disturbing in a nice way. It's like I just think of you in Vienna watching the same thing.
I had someone on Twitter message me after Johnson's assist for the Solanke goal about how he beat a fullback, and I was like, the fullback fell over. He didn't beat him. He just managed to kick it. But yeah, I'm not a fan. We'll just leave it there.
Right, prediction, James.
Beat the fullback though.
10-0.
Thanks, Dave. Good my job.
10-0 Spurs, 0 to the Scummers. Enough said. Brennan Johnson,
and a realistic one.
I believe. 4-0 Spurs. They're terrible. If we don't batter them, I'll be very upset. As will every single person in the island of Portsea.
It's true.
I cannot see us beating them 4-0.
We beat Man City 4-0.
Sorry, HG.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if everyone. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if people. They're terrible. We'll win. Let me be delusional. We will win.
Okay, I think we'll win 3-2. I think it'd be a pulsating game because neither team can defend. And Brennan will score just to wind HG up. Might even be the fullback.
No, it doesn't wind me up. It's literally the only thing he can do. So if he does it, I'm happy.
Actually, I'll share an anecdote. I was watching the game last night. Allegedly, I was watching it on a dodgy stream. Allegedly, and there was the chat. Allegedly, and there was a guy allegedly in this alleged chat. And he was very anti Brennan Johnson, and I merely pointed out that he is the top creator of Spurs and the top goal scorer of Spurs. And he got very upset at that accusation, which is factually correct. So all I'm saying is, if you disagree with me on Brennan Johnson being basically Gareth Bale... No, I forgot I was going for this. Anyway, what I said was, how about we get Gareth Bale out of retirement? Yeah, my end point was, let's get Gareth Bale out of retirement. Daniel Levy, buy him a golf course, get him out of retirement. He'd still be better than Timo Werner.
He'd be better than Brennan
Even
Johnson
David
too.
can't disagree with that.
David,
Brennan Johnson is world class. Do you disagree that a Gareth Bale who's unfit and plays golf is better than Timo Werner?
That's Gareth Bale's last 5 years of his career, wasn't it? Not fit and playing golf.
But would you agree that he's better? I mean, aside from his Wales games, would you agree he's better than Timo Werner?
What, now? Now? Or at his peak?
Even now. Even now.
No, I don't.
You think
so.
Timo Werner is better than Gareth Bale?
Now, yes.
Well, there's a headline for you.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell,
I mean, I think I'm better than Timo Werner.
Well,
on that bombshell.
On that bombshell, there's only one thing left to do: hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you
That's very good. That's very good.
Very good. After a fantastic victory on the South Coast, I'm quite sure, and we'll be ready. I'll be there. I'm on an all-day drink-a-thon with Diver and Leon on Thursday. Can't wait. Need to get Leon back on a show, actually. That'd be very good indeed. I will discuss that with him and his contractual terms while I'm with him in London. But look, until next time, we are going to win. We're going to beat Southampton and Gin, and come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Padres.